Single Dad's incredible late arrival at work revealed a hidden truth that transformed their lives. Jack jolted awake to the blaring alarm, the piercing sound slicing through the fog of sleeplessness. He hardly had time to process the disastrous start to his day. With bleary eyes, he rose and rushed to dress, guilt gnawing at him as he remembered the long hours he had sacrificed for his children since the loss of his wife. The weight of their unspoken burdens settled heavy on his chest. He barely managed to scramble breakfast together. Burnt toast and cold cereal replaced a warm meal, but there was no time for anything more. Emily's eyes sparkled with concern, while Liam clutched his stuffed dinosaur, lost in worry over lingering nightmares. As they left with the neighbor, a sinking feeling enveloped Jack. A familiar sense of failure washed over him. The clock ticked loudly as he sped toward the auto shop, dread swelling in his chest. Arriving an hour late, crumpled and frazzled, he was met by Carl's sharp gaze, disappointment etched into his boss's features. "You're late again, Jack," he said, his tone bland but heavy with unspoken implications. Jack clenched his jaw. A mixture of shame and frustration swirled within him. Respected by the town, revered for his skill, yet he felt like a shadow of that man, stretched thin and unraveling. Diving back into work, Jack's hands moved through the familiar motions of wrench and gear, but his mind raced uncontrollably. Each squeal of brakes and clank of metal exacerbated the rising anxiety as he desperately tried to catch up on repairs. Just when he thought he could clear his head, he uncovered an old file buried deep under a tangle of paperwork. The name on the yellowing document sent a jolt through him, his late wife's name. Heart racing, he instinctively pulled back, but curiosity overpowered hesitation. Flipping through the worn pages, Jack discovered details of an unclaimed estate from her family. Confusion and disbelief flooded his mind. This could be the lifeline he had been searching for. The idea of a hidden legacy ignited a flicker of hope within him, contrasting sharply with the reality of their daily grind. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily against his ribs. Could this change everything? Could it mend the frayed edges of his life, gifting Emily and Liam something more than grease-stained clothes and simple meals? Before he could fully process it, Jack found himself caught in a whirlwind of emotions, torn between the security of his simple mechanics shop and this tantalizing glimpse into a different future. Would pursuing this unknown inheritance mean risking the stability he had sacrificed so much to build? Faces of friends and neighbors swam through his head, some who respected him but silently judged, others who offered only pity. Each glance cast his way reminded him of the delicate balance he walked every day. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes. And many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. A moment of maximum anguish gripped Jack. He stood at a crossroads, gripping the old file like a lifeline, but feeling the weight of doubt settle in. Would this endeavor lead him to a brighter future for his children, or would it sever the fragile strands of routine he'd carefully woven since his wife's passing? The thought of judgment from his own community made his stomach churn. Would he sacrifice their modest life for the uncertainty of a legacy best left buried? As the clock ticked ominously above him, Jack's sense of urgency intensified. Unraveling secrets buried in obscurity, he needed to confront the moral dilemmas ahead. Could he dare to chase this legacy while ensuring his children's happiness and security? Heart-pounding, he realized that the next step would be crucial. Facing the unknown might mean a new chapter for Emily and Liam, or it could crash everything down around them. The engine of change roared within him, but uncertainty gnawed at his resolve. In that moment, Jack understood one thing. He had to decide soon, before the delicate thread of their future slipped completely from his grasp. Jack's fingers trembled as he placed the old file on the workbench, a neglected relic that now threatened to upend his meticulously structured life. He could hear the soft humming of the shop, the familiar sense of motor oil and gasoline mingling to offer a sense of solace, yet they faded against the churning thoughts in his mind. Each tick of the clock was a reminder of the diminishing time he had to make a decision that could redefine their very existence. He inhaled deeply, letting the air fill his lungs, grounding him as his gaze fell back to the file. The documents within could hold the answer he so desperately needed, but the risks loomed larger than the possibilities. A part of him yearned for change, something to pull him from the clutches of his routine. The mundane days were starting to feel like a cage, with the echoes of laughter from his children reminding him of what once was. But with change came uncertainty, an uninvited guest that stirred anxiety in the pit of his stomach. "That's the problem, isn't it?" Jack whispered to himself, running his hand over his tired eyes. He had reveled in his role as a protector and provider, but felt increasingly trapped within those roles. Was he a protector if he denied his children the potential for a better life? Just then, Emily and Liam's faces danced in his mind, both their smiles and tears flickering like the lights of an approaching storm. The nagging voice of doubt grew louder, asking whether he had the right to reach for something more when there was still so much that could go wrong. His work ethic had always been his beacon, a sturdy anchor through the turbulent seas of loss. But now, standing before the choice that loomed larger than any oil-slicked engine he had ever repaired, Jack realized he had lost touch with what drove him personally. He considered the hobby shop he'd once dreamed of opening, the joy he found in tinkering, and the creative solutions that flowed from his hands. The exhilaration of creation seemed foreign now, overshadowed by the relentless pursuit of survival. It struck him then, the truth he had sidestepped in his daily exhaustion. If he truly wanted to honor his wife's memory and create a stable environment for his children, he needed to reclaim that spark of passion. Surely, that legacy, if it existed, would bear more than just material wealth. It could be the catalyst for redemption, a chance to build a legacy of resilience. Deciding on a course of action felt vital. Jack peered through the doorway of his shop, where the world outside bustled on, completely unaware of the internal tempest swirling within him. He had to confront his fears and the judgments of others head-on. The recognition was not lost on him. The skepticism he imagined from others reflected more about his self-doubt than their opinions. With newfound resolve, Jack grabbed the file and headed toward the door, purpose igniting within him. He would seek answers about the estate, about the family ties that promised something beyond the grease-stained days of his past. But first, he must burrow through the shadows of uncertainty, and maybe even face the source of his deepest fears. As he took a step forward into sunlight, an unexpected thought struck him. What if there were no answers waiting? Would he still be brave enough to forge a path into the unknown? The flickering hopes of the future flashed before him, compelling him to confront deeper struggles than those he'd ever faced before. With his heart pounding in anticipation, Jack paused at the threshold, adrenaline surging through him. He was done being comfortable, done settling. The time had come to face not only the unclaimed legacy, but the very fabric of his own identity, the man he wanted to grow into for himself and his family. And as the realization dawned, he wondered, amidst glimpses of possibility, if he could truly step into the light, if he could uncover forgotten pieces of himself along the way. Jack stepped out of the shop, the sun hitting his face, warming initial doubts as he moved forward. Each step felt substantial, like he was carving out a new path in the concrete. There was possibility in the air, the kind that used to fill his chest with exhilaration. Yet the weight of responsibility still clung to him. He had to reconcile his aspirations with the harsh realities of single parenthood. His thoughts raced toward the old file still clutched under his arm. It felt heavy, not just with paper, but with the burden of decision-making. What lay within could very well change everything: his child's future, his own sense of self. Would uncovering those truths deliver liberation or just more complications? He strolled toward the edge of town, where the local estate office sat, an unassuming brick building that could easily blend into the backdrop of his memories. The front door creaked slightly as he entered, the cool air washing over him like an unexpected wave of clarity. The receptionist's eyes flickered up, briefly assessing him before returning to her computer. Jack instinctively felt out of place, the mundane sounds of tapping keyboards only accentuating his internal conflict. He approached the desk, posture straightening as he cleared his throat. "I need information about my late wife's family estate." The words felt foreign, yet palpable, like he was shedding another layer of his hesitance. "Do you have the file number?" she asked, dispassionately, her eyes not leaving the screen. Jack hesitated a moment before sliding the old file across the counter. As it crossed the threshold between them, it almost felt like a curse lifted, unveiling portions of his life he'd kept buried. With a few clicks and glances, the receptionist's demeanor shifted slightly, her attention piqued. "This is for the Thompson estate, correct? I'll just check it out. Please wait a moment." She gestured toward the waiting area. Jack sank into a chair, anticipation battling with anxiety, thoughts spiraling into endless doubts. The nuances of who he had become were collapsing under the pressure of the moment. Was he even prepared for what he might find? Each heartbeat punctuated the silence around him, magnifying his vulnerability. His mind wandered to Emily and Liam, imagining their reactions to various outcomes. What would it mean if he unearthed long-lost relatives? Would they welcome him or view him as an intruder? In his heart, he felt a flicker of hope, deeply intertwined with fear, the duality of rediscovery and rejection. Moments later, the receptionist returned, her expression less clipped, now marked with intrigue. "There are quite a few beneficiaries listed here," she revealed, unfolding a document that shimmered with the weight of possibilities. "It seems your wife had more ties to her family than you may have known." She slid the paperwork across to him, curiosity replacing the neutrality of before. Jack's breath hitched at the implications. He realized these connections might signify a bridge to a future he never anticipated. Would he dare reach out? Unraveling more could lead to blessings or burdens, yet he felt an undeniable tug. As he scanned the document, a peculiar name slipped off the page, striking him as both unfamiliar yet somehow resonant. A cousin who lived just within a few towns over. The thought sparked something within him. Could this lead to an emotional opening, a chance to reclaim family dynamics he had long overlooked? Or would it only result in heartache? Suddenly, the walls of the sterile office felt stifling, and he wrestled with the impulse to flee or face the dawning reality head-on. With newfound resolve, Jack committed to confronting his past, knowing he was not just seeking pieces of his wife's lineage, but also reconciling parts of himself that had been dormant for too long. With the open file before him, he felt grounded, a stepping stone towards not just understanding his wife's world, but perhaps piecing together his own. The moment shimmered as he stood, preparing to make sense of the unfamiliar journey ahead. This self-imposed quest would lead him to more than just paperwork. It may very well carve out the father, husband, and man he had set out to rediscover. And as he stepped into the sunlight once more, a thought anchored him. What if the family he sought had been waiting all along? What if uncovering their history could rewrite the narrative of his own? The echoes of the past rushed toward him as he closed the door behind him, ready to dive into the unknown. Jack's heart raced as he stepped out onto the sunlit street. He could still feel the weight of the file in his hands, but now it served as a beacon, illuminating the path ahead. He had spent so long in the shadows, and now the prospect of reconnecting with family weighed down on him, neither entirely burdensome nor wholly liberating. With every step, the idea of reaching out to his late wife's cousin fluttered in his mind like a flickering flame. He reached for his phone, briefly glancing at the time. The decision to send an introductory message ignited a nervous tension within him. What would he say? "Hello, I'm your long-lost relative?" The absurdity made him chuckle nervously, but behind that facade lay genuine stakes. He needed to be ready, mentally and emotionally, to tackle whatever came next. After a tentative thumb scroll through the contacts, he finally located the cousin's name and began typing. "Hi, my name is Jack Thompson. I'm Emily's husband. I recently learned about you and would love to connect." He paused, reading the text again, thoughts spilling forth. Would this relative be a confidant, or would they view him with distrust? Jack hesitated, fingers hovering over the send button. Just as he hesitated, memories of Emily flooded back, her laughter, her warmth. They would often whisper about family relationships over coffee, both laughing off estrangements as trivial. If she were there, what would she encourage him to do? He imagined her whispering, "You've got this." With that imagined reassurance, he pressed send. A low hum of anxiety became the backdrop of his next few moments. Each tick of his watch amplified his impatience. He needed clarity. He couldn't afford to spiral into uncertainty now. There were children relying on him. Still, the exhilaration of taking that step forward brought a sense of self-affirmation. He had opened a channel that may not only lead to family, but also to a deeper understanding of himself. That sense of reconnection was precious, a chance to enhance not only his identity, but also his ability to guide Liam through the complexities of family legacies. With his decision made, Jack stared into the distance, contemplating the next move. He could dive into a world built on old memories, longings, and questions. What was it like for his wife growing up? What would her cousin reveal about her past? As Jack reached his car, he felt an impulse to write down what he imagined their conversation would be like. But before that, a familiar face caught his eye. An old friend, Michael, from college, stood on the opposite sidewalk, talking animatedly on his phone. Jack had lost touch with him over the years, but this moment felt serendipitous. It could be an opportunity for a fresh start, the perfect distraction to help solidify his resolve. "Hey, you!" Michael greeted, the enthusiasm contagious. They embraced, and Jack felt a rush of comfort. Someone who once understood him before life had challenged him in ways he never anticipated. As they shared stories of their lives, Jack's focus shifted from the cousin and unknown family ties to reconnecting with his past self, the man he had been before the loss and the responsibilities consumed him. In Michael, he sensed opportunity, a chance to explore new aspects of his identity. In the midst of their conversation, Michael probed, "So, what's going on in your life? Anything new I should know?" The question lingered in the air, a pivotal moment. Jack stood at a crossroads. Could he reveal both the turmoil and the unexpected exploration he was diving into? The idea of sharing his journey ignited a strange blend of fear and excitement within him. "Actually," he began cautiously, but with growing confidence, "I just uncovered some family history that's about to change everything." Michael raised an eyebrow, intrigued. And with that simple interaction, Jack felt the dawn of transformation. The once distant connection seemed closer now, as if engaging with both old and new relationships could offer him the support he desperately needed. With resolve flourishing again, Jack sensed the urgency of the unfolding journey. Each step toward connecting with his wife's family illuminated corners of his understanding, urging him to embrace the unpredictable. As they discussed the intricacies of relationships, Jack's phone buzzed with a response from his wife's cousin, and his heart rate quickened once more. It was time for him to confront the past, approach the known fears, and potentially discover unknown strengths within himself. It was now or never, a moment where legacy intertwined with rebirth. The tight-knit fabric of his life was pulling in different directions, and he could either strangle it or weave together something new. Would he embrace the full complexity of what lay ahead? He held his breath. Finally, opening the message, what started as a shadowed inquiry into family could spiral into a profound revelation, a moment that may very well redefine who he could become. What would it reveal, and would he be ready to embrace it? Jack's heart raced as he read the message on his phone, his hands trembling slightly. "Hi, Jack. Nice to hear from you. I would love to connect. It's been a while since we've had any family communication. How about we meet this weekend?" The response was simple, yet profound, carrying with it the weight of unspoken histories and familial ties he had long thought severed. Excitement rippled through him, followed closely by the tightening coils of anxiety. The gravity of the situation began to settle in. This wasn't just a casual meetup. This was a doorway flung wide open to the past, a catalyst that could illuminate or obscure the truths he had yet to confront. Jack glanced at Michael, who was still engrossed in an animated story about his recent promotion. The room was filled with a warmth that felt suddenly foreign. A sense of urgency pushed against Jack's chest. He hadn't shared his truth yet, but how? Did he even want to? In this pivotal moment, Jack recognized an opportunity to explore more than just his wife's legacy. He could delve into his own evolution, his transformation from the grieving man he once was to a father looking to restore connection and understanding. With each heartbeat echoing in his ears, he decided it was time to open up. "Michael, can I talk to you about something serious?" The gravity in his tone caught Michael off guard. The lively animation faded, replaced by an attentive focus. "Sure, what's going on?" Jack brushed a hand through his hair, trying to articulate the thoughts swirling in his mind. "I recently discovered I have a family connection I never knew about, my late wife's cousin. It feels like stepping into a world I didn't know existed." His voice cracked slightly, revealing the vulnerability he wished to keep hidden. Michael nodded, encouraging him to continue. "That's great, Jack. Isn't it a good thing?" Jack hesitated, grappling with the spectrum of emotions churning inside him. "It is, but it's complicated. I'm not just reaching out to them for me. I have Liam to think about. I'm scared of what I might uncover and how it would affect him." The words poured out, layered with his apprehension and the weight of fatherly responsibility. Michael's expression shifted to one of deeper understanding. "You're opening a chapter that could reveal a lot about Emily and your roots. It could be beneficial for Liam to understand his family's history." "Exactly," Jack replied, the spark of the thought igniting something deep within him. "But it also means confronting my loss again. What if it brings more pain than healing?" Michael placed a reassuring hand on Jack's shoulder. "But isn't that part of moving forward? You might surprise yourself and find new strengths in vulnerability. You could help Liam understand where he comes from, creating a bridge to his mother's side of the family." Jack acknowledged the truth in Michael's words. It was a chance for growth, not just for himself, but for Liam too. The flicker of determination reemerged, urging him to take more profound strides into the unknown. Feeling more empowered, Jack allowed a small smile to cross his lips as he looked at Michael, who mirrored it back. "Thanks, man. You've always had a way of seeing things I missed." As the conversation progressed back to lighter subjects, Jack could feel the weight of his earlier apprehensions begin to lift. A newfound focus took hold of him. He felt ready to fully embrace this meeting with his wife's cousin, and through that, learn to recount his story in ways he hadn't thought possible. But as the shadows of uncertainty continued to lurk in the corners of his mind, Jack's phone buzzed anxiously again. Another message from the cousin. Reading the content would be a test of his resolve, whether he was truly ready to navigate this complex terrain of family history he had once avoided. This time, it wasn't merely curiosity. It felt like destiny calling him back to life. The message might hold answers he'd long yearned for, or usher in challenges he was not prepared to face. His breath quickened again, the thrill of anticipation intertwining with a surge of trepidation. What if this was a pivotal moment? What hidden truths lay ahead? Jack dared to contemplate the next step, aware that it might just be the key to transforming not only his understanding of family, but redefining himself in the process. Jack sat on the edge of the sofa, the blue glow of his phone illuminating his anxious expression as he read and reread the message from his late wife's cousin. Each word seemed to vibrate with possibility, a blend of hope and fear that churned within him. He inhaled deeply, feeling the tightness in his chest give way to a subtle, nagging doubt. What if this meeting unraveled the fragile fabric of his family? Deciding to distract himself, he grabbed a notepad and began jotting down his ideas for the meeting. Each bullet point helped to settle his mind, but what he really craved was clarity. He thought of his son, Liam, and how crucial it was for him to connect with his roots, yet the fear of digging too deep paralyzed him. Could he find a way to balance Liam's needs with his own vulnerabilities? Jack's deep contemplation was interrupted when Michael excitedly returned to the room, glowing with the success of his pitch meeting at work. "I landed the project," he exclaimed. But Jack didn't mirror the enthusiasm. For him, the concept of success felt abstract, contrasting sharply against the emotional turmoil roiling inside. "That's awesome, Mike, but I need to figure out how to navigate this meeting first," Jack replied, his smile weak. The imposed excitement in
Michael's voice only highlighted Jack's internal battle. "Hey, this is part of your path to growth," Michael urged, sensing Jack's distraction. "What's holding you back from seizing this opportunity?" It was a direct question that struck Jack like a bolt of lightning, electrifying him into contemplation. He paced around the room, feeling the mounting pressure of unprocessed feelings. "It's not just about me, Mike. I have years of silence and grief to unpack. How do I explain to Liam that his mother had a whole family out there, a legacy he's been deprived of?" "By talking transparently," Michael replied, his tone earnest. "If you approach this with openness, you might be surprised by the strength you already possess. You've overcome so much already." Michael's confidence in him started to lay the foundation for his own self-belief. While preparing for the inevitable interaction, Jack recalled the way he had spoken to Liam about loss, simplistically but with warmth, to make the universe a little more digestible for his son. He could do the same here, presenting the notion of family as a complex but beautiful tapestry rather than a fragmented history. Suddenly inspired, Jack sat back down with the notepad and started scribbling again. This time, he formed questions to ask his wife's cousin, focusing on getting to know the family and sharing stories of his late wife with them. It was not just about him. It was an act of family building that could positively impact Liam's understanding of his mother. He felt a flicker of lightness in his chest, the weight of uncertainty slowly lifting. But that feeling was fleeting as new anxieties crept in. What if the cousin reacted negatively? What if the discoveries made Liam feel abandoned and hollow? The perpetual what-if game clouded his newfound resolve. Could he handle the potential backlash? With a sudden determination cutting through the fog, he turned to Michael. "What if I framed the meeting around Liam? What if I asked directly about his mother? I can learn through him how they viewed her, what stories they have." The clarity of this realization tied his thoughts together. Michael nodded, mirroring Jack's growing confidence. "That's the spirit. And remember, for every uncomfortable truth, there's an opportunity for rich familial connections. You'll adapt. You always have," he reassured him. As they concluded their discussion, Jack felt the internal shifts propelling him forward, each new resolution a step toward the impending meeting. He prepared himself mentally, each repetition of potential dialogue building a projective shield against imminent emotional exposure. With the day of the meeting drawing closer, and Jack's thoughts swirling with both excitement and trepidation, he couldn't shake the feeling that this reunion would not just alter perceptions of his late wife, but also shift the very foundations of who he was becoming as a father. Moments later, the phone buzzed once more. He hesitated before looking, the tension building within him like a taut string on the verge of snapping. What new layer of complexity awaited in that message? Would it deepen his resolve or further entangle his fears?
He steadied his breath, ready to confront whatever lay ahead, knowing in the depths of his heart that it was time to embrace the storm of vulnerability that awaited him. Jack's fingers hovered over the phone screen, heart racing as he prepared to read the message. Finally, he exhaled sharply and tapped open the notification. The words unfolded before him, a simple arrangement that ignited a cascade of thoughts. The cousin had offered a date and time, along with an address that felt loaded with the weight of the unknown. A meeting now had a framework, yet it felt surreal, almost daunting. He stood up, pace quickening as he moved through the kitchen, the quiet hum of household life around him only serving to amplify his internal turmoil. Each step felt like a rehearsal, practicing not just for the meeting, but the subsequent conversations with Liam that might ripple out from it. Could he manage the emotions that would undoubtedly surface? In an attempt to outline this impending complexity, Jack grabbed a few pieces of scrap paper scattered on the counter. He began diagramming what he might say, how he'd explain the situation to Liam without overwhelming him, without making him feel displaced. He felt his chest tighten as he grappled with the tension between wanting to provide Liam with the truth and protecting him from potential pain. Stepping back, he took a moment to breathe. The weight of his wife's legacy pressed heavily upon him. As the mother of their child, she was a vessel of love, but to make this part of her life tangible for Liam felt perilous. It was one thing to whisper stories of her laughter and dreams, but another to expose him to families that once shared holidays with her, the lives she had lived before Jack entered the picture. He needed to wade into that murky water thoughtfully. Jack put down the pencil, leaning against the counter as a pang of self-doubt struck. He thought of the countless moments of happiness they had shared as a family, and wished more than anything for Liam to grasp the full picture of his mother, not just in shadows, but in vivid color. But would that picture still be a masterpiece after newcomers became part of their narrative? That night, after Liam was tucked in, Jack found himself in the living room, scrolling through his phone aimlessly. It was easy to lose himself in the distraction of social media, and yet it felt shallow. He closed the app and pulled up a note-taking app instead. He needed to confront his own fears head-on, with more substance than fleeting posts could provide. An idea sparked. What if he penned a letter? A letter to Liam a few years forward, one where he could articulate the reasons behind this meeting and what he hoped it would bring. He envisioned the wisdom he could impart, what he wanted him to know about courage and familial love. Words spilled from his fingers as he wrote about uncertainties, emotions, the importance of heritage, and above all, the undying love they continued to carry for his mother. As he wrote, he glimpsed his own growth begin to take shape. Writing felt like peeling the layers of an onion, revealing feelings he had long buried beneath the surface. The narrative flowed as he navigated through his vulnerabilities, showing how this meeting could be a bridge rather than a rift. Yet, deep down, he realized this was also a preparation for his confrontation with the past. It was twofold. He would have to confront his grief while also welcoming potential love into their lives that might occupy space in Liam's heart, a balancing act fraught with emotional peril. He paused, considering if he was ready for the implications of that shift. The rising dawn illuminated Jack's face as he finished the letter, the quiet confidence within him radiating warmth as he passed it on to Michael for feedback. They sat together, each word intricately judged and weighed. Jack began to feel a sense of purpose emerge, stronger than the vestiges of fear. The meeting would no longer be just about piecing together lost fragments of the past, but a pathway towards empathy and understanding for both him and Liam. As he rolled the letter up neatly for future use, a new thought struck him. The meeting could rewrite not just Liam's narrative, but also rekindle parts of Jack that he had locked away. Just then, another notification pinged on his phone, a message from his wife's cousin bearing a question he hadn't anticipated. "Are you bringing Liam with you?" The moment of truth arrived. Would he allow his son to take this journey with him or shield him further? Jack's heart raced, bouncing between fear and the thrill of potential connection. He knew the decision would shape their evolving family more than any meeting itself ever could. Jack sat at the kitchen table, the letter now a crumpled parchment of his thoughts and fears. The morning light poured through the window, illuminating the room in a soft glow, yet it failed to alleviate the tension brewing inside him. He replayed the question in his mind, the weight of it settling heavily on his chest. Should he take Liam to meet the cousin, or should he walk this uncertain path alone? Taking a deep breath, Jack reached for his phone. He needed clarity, and Liam was his guiding star. As he glanced at the little boy's drawings taped to the fridge, he felt a surge of love. Liam was openly curious and unencumbered by the fear that sometimes gripped Jack. Perhaps this meeting could be an adventure for both of them. Could he frame it in a way that highlighted the beauty of family connections? He typed a quick response to his cousin. "Let's talk it over tonight." The decision felt momentous, but he knew it was merely the first step on a long road. In the following moments, he meticulously prepared himself for the day ahead. There was a distinct buzz of anticipation tied to the meeting, but it was tangled with anxiety. Today was about more than just work. It was a prelude to a transformation. Jack arrived at the office earlier than usual. The quiet atmosphere, usually filled with the hum of colleagues, felt surreal. This calm was the perfect backdrop to his thoughts. He quickly settled into his routine, rearranging his workspace while repressing the gnawing feeling that there was something more important at play. As he drafted an email, his mind drifted to the implications of bringing Liam along. There was a flicker of realization. Connecting with Liam could not only forge a new understanding of their family, but revolutionize how he perceived his role as a father. He had been protecting Liam so fiercely, but maybe it was time to let him experience the world, to allow him to see beyond their bubble. At lunchtime, Jack regrouped with Michael, sharing his whirlwind of thoughts. "I think I'm going to bring Liam to meet my wife's cousin. It might be beneficial for both of us," he confessed, the words feeling foreign yet freeing. Michael looked impressed, leaning back with a contemplative expression. "It sounds like you're opening up a new chapter. There's so much he can learn from these connections." "Yeah, but what if it overwhelms him? What if he can't handle it?" Jack's voice cracked slightly as doubt crept in. "Or what if it gives him a sense of belonging, of who he is? You're both navigating this together, right?" Michael offered. The comment struck a chord, igniting a spark of courage within Jack. He responded with a smile, recognizing that the journey required honesty and trust. Every moment spent deliberating the meeting resonated as a chance not only to share his wife's story, but to carve out the essence of love that existed within their family. It was a daunting shift, but he felt the subtle tug of determination pulling him forward. The realization crystallized. This journey was more about Liam than it was about the complexity of their family history. If Jack did not show him the dance between love and loss, who would? It was a chance for Jack to exhibit resilience, showcasing to Liam the power of embracing new beginnings. As he left the office, Jack felt lighter. The decisions made that day were catalysts of change, promising to reshape his family narrative into something vibrant and inclusive. But as he approached his front porch, anticipation unwound into anxiety. Would Liam be ready to step onto that path with him? Just before he opened the door, he caught sight of a tiny piece of paper fluttering in the wind. An old flyer revealing a family event at a nearby park. The universe was beckoning him forward, and he could almost hear the whispers of his wife encouraging him to take that leap. As he stepped inside, everything around him felt charged with potential. What did this event mean for their journey? Only time had the answers, but Jack felt ready to embrace whatever came next. The following morning arrived with a waning dawn, casting a muted light across Jack's bedroom. Sleep had been a fleeting concept, nestled between pockets of worry and flashes of hopeful anticipation. As he sat on the edge of his bed, the familiar weight of responsibility pressed against his chest.
The commitment to bring Liam to meet his wife's cousin lingered like an unanswered question, its potential ramifications swirling in his mind. He rose with the conviction that today would mark a pivotal shift for both of them. He needed to convey to Liam that every meeting held the potential for connection, an aspect of life he had shielded them from for too long. Preparing breakfast, Jack methodically laid out toast and cut fresh fruit, channeling his energy into the simple act of nurturing. Cooking had always served as an anchor, allowing him to ground himself even amid tumultuous thoughts. "Good morning, Dad!" Liam's cheerful voice broke through the haze of introspection. The sight of the boy's bright smile illuminated the kitchen, imbuing it with warmth. Jack's heart swelled. This was a brief respite from the chaos of impending change. "Are you excited about today?" Jack ventured, cautiously examining how Liam processed the news. The boy nodded, his tousled hair bouncing as he did so. "Yeah, I can't wait to meet more family." His enthusiasm was nearly palpable, a breath of fresh air to Jack's anxious spirit. As they ate, Jack watched Liam, pondering the contrast between his son's open-heartedness and his own guarded nature. He realized this meeting was not merely a diversion. It represented a stepping stone toward dismantling the fears that loomed large within him. Jack did not want Liam to inherit the hesitancies that had stifled him in his adult life. At work, the clock ticked forward with an excruciating slowness. Jack's mind oscillated between tasks as he found himself daydreaming about the upcoming encounter. What stories would they share? How would Liam respond to the familial ties long forgotten? Each question raced through his mind, rippling throughout his day, and the deeper purpose of their journey began to solidify. Michael, with his perennial knack for reading Jack's inner turmoil, stopped by his desk. "You okay? You seem a little distracted," he noted, a knowing grin breaking across his face. "I've just been thinking about showing Liam different sides of life," Jack sighed, lowering his voice. "About introducing him to family he hasn't met before. It's scary, you know?" "That's normal. But think about it this way." Michael leaned closer, lowering his tone conspiratorially. "Every relationship we form shapes us. Whether they last or not, each connection adds layers to who we are. It's a part of growing up." Jack's heart quickened at Michael's insight, striking like a bell in the recesses of his mind. He considered the possibility that this trip could help Liam navigate relationships, granting him the tools for future connections that would become vital in his life. Realizing this, Jack felt resolved. He did not merely intend to bring Liam into a new environment. He wanted to facilitate their mutual growth and understanding about what family meant. As the day waned, he wrapped up his work, anxiety replaced by a determined energy. The meeting loomed ahead, not as a precipice, but as an opportunity for them to step into uncharted territory together. Later that evening, anticipation crackled in the air as they made their way to the designated spot. Jack consciously engaged Liam in conversation, noticing how the boy soaked in every detail surrounding their journey. As they finally arrived, the crowd bustling with vibrant, unfamiliar faces brought an unexpected wave of trepidation over him. Was he truly prepared for this? Liam turned to him, eyes expectant. "Is this where we meet everyone?" Jack nodded, a surge of paternal instinct flooding through him. "Yes, buddy. Everyone is waiting to see you." But fears twisted in Jack's stomach. What awaited them beyond greetings? Would every connection here write a new chapter in their lives, or was it a perilous leap that might send them tumbling into complications he wasn't ready to face? With a deep breath, he stepped forward, almost yearning for the answers the night might reveal, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something seismic. Just as he prepared to move closer to the gathering, a figure caught his eye. An unexpected presence from his past materialized across the park, and a chill enveloped him. What secrets would this encounter unearth? Jack took a tentative step forward, anxiety melding with anticipation as he navigated through the crowd, Liam's hands secure in his own. The park was alive with laughter. The evening sun cast a golden hue over everything, yet the warmth barely penetrated the clusters of uncertainty building in Jack's chest.
Suddenly, he felt the pull of his past as an old acquaintance emerged through the crowd. "Jack, is that you?" a voice called out. An old friend he hadn't seen in years. It was Sarah, a familiar face from college, someone who had been close to Emily. A wave of emotion crashed over him, memories flickering to life like ghosts. And for a moment, he was paralyzed by the cacophony of memories that this encounter dredged up. "Yes, it's me," he replied, his voice steadier than the tempest inside. Sarah surveyed him, and to Jack's surprise, warmth flooded her eyes. "I heard about Emily's passing. I'm so sorry. It's good to see you, but it's bittersweet." Her genuine concern wrapped around him, anchoring him just as memories of Emily bloomed within his mind. Jack's heart swelled, not merely with loss, but with shared understanding. "It's been tough, but I'm learning to navigate it day by day. I just brought Liam to
Meet family? I didn't even know we had." He gestured to the little boy, who was exploring the area, captivated by the bright colors of the gathering. Jack watched as Liam waved enthusiastically to other children, unaware of the emotional significance behind this moment. Sarah's gaze followed Liam's exuberant movements, and a smile blossomed on her face. "He looks so much like her," she said softly, and Jack felt the weight of her words sink in. This was not just about them. This was about Liam, shining in a legacy that had been overshadowed by grief and turmoil. As they talked, Jack realized there was a depth of connection in sharing struggles. With each word, he reaffirmed his intention to cultivate a bond with Liam's lineage. "Thank you for saying that. I want to make sure he knows the love his mom had for him, even if it comes with challenges." Together, they navigated the delicate web of remembrance and renewal, cementing a bond he didn't realize was still there. Sarah shared anecdotes about Emily's childhood, her passion for art, and how loving family was always at the forefront of her life. Each story painted a vibrant picture that filled in the gaps Liam had unknowingly left in his heart. "Jack!" The call of his cousin broke through the moment, prompting Jack to pivot toward the source. There stood his late wife's cousin, an unfamiliar yet comforting figure amidst the crowd. He exuded an inviting warmth, and Jack felt a sense of belonging swell within him. "Thank you for coming," the cousin greeted. "I'm so excited to finally meet you and Liam." Jack swallowed hard, stomach twisting tautly. The hesitation surrounding their connection had transformed into a rich opportunity. "It's an honor. Thank you for welcoming us," he replied, finding his voice in this sea of uncertainty. As Liam bounded closer, glancing back at Jack with a broad grin, Jack felt a pride emerge within him. "This is my son, Liam." The introduction was significant. It bridged their shared history with future possibilities. "Hey, Liam, do you know any cool stories about your mom?" The cousin knelt and engaged the boy eagerly. Jack watched as Liam's eyes sparkled, pride igniting within him. The weight of familial culture, stories, and legacies was suddenly palpable, becoming a vibrant tapestry woven with love and understanding. In that moment, all of Jack's earlier hesitations melted away. He realized he was not just connecting Liam with his past, but embarking on a journey of individual growth that bound them both. As the gathering shifted into heartfelt exchanges and laughter, Jack found himself at the center of this storm of connection. Whispers of Emily intermingled with the laughter around him, uniting the past with the present and promising to unfurl a new, vibrant family legacy. Jack stood tall, heart light with both grief and gratitude. He was ready to embrace the story that would be written from this moment forward. Together, they could redefine family. The echoes of loss would transform into a symphony of love and resilience. Jack's journey was far from over, but he had crossed an essential threshold. At that gathering, he found not just family, but affirmation of his growth and a resolve to ensure that Liam would thrive intrepidly in their newly woven narrative. He turned to Michael, who had joined them, and said with conviction, "This is just the beginning. We're all going to be okay." The words hung in the air, resonating with truth. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a hopeful glow over the park, signaling that every ending could spark a new beginning. Jack felt empowered by the infinite realm of possibilities stretching before him. It was time to seize them.
And right there, amidst the laughter and stories shared, Jack anticipated not just the continuation of his journey, but the brilliance of a future he now believed was attainable. Every step taken led to connection, reflection, and transformation, a promise of shared legacy that he was finally ready to explore. Now it was clear. He would honor Emily's memory and uplift Liam through the love of family as they walked together into this brave new world. And if you resonate with Jack's courageous journey, you need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss out on more emotional stories of overcoming adversity. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread the message of resilience far and wide. Comment below with your thoughts and theories about Jack's journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need inspiration from tales of personal triumph.